A breakdown of the recent amendment to the Consumer Affairs Act that was passed on Monday was done on this week's InFocus to better inform and protect consumers. During Wednesday's program, Right Honorable Dr. Denzil Douglas, Minister of Commerce and Consumer Affairs, gave a further explanation of the bill.
The bill, when it was first introduced 20 years ago, it was in keeping with what we had to do, our obligation as a member of the Caribbean community, and also as a signatory to the revised treaty of Chaguaramas. Specifically, that agreement spoke to in Article 184 and also 185 that we had to provide harmonized consumer protection legislation as all CARICOM countries were expected to do, because we are all signatories. And the bill, therefore, was necessary to fulfill this particular obligation because we had recognized that some consumer protection from 2003 bill were not covered. And it was important, especially after we would have had continuing complaints from our own consumers here in St. Kitts and Nevis, that there was something that we had to do to improve the situation. And that is what the intention was.
One other change to the bill is the position of Consumer Protection Officers, CPO, instead of Price Control Officers. Director of the Consumer Affairs Department, Paul Quealy, spoke of actions that can be taken by the CPOs.
In regards to the expired items, the officers would remove them from the shelves now under the new legislation, and they would be required to be placed in a container, and it would be sealed once we get the appropriate seal, like the kind of tape that customs uses with their logo and stuff on it. You seal the container and you place it in a location where the health department, the health inspectors would then come and confiscate these items and dispose of them. It remains at the establishment because we cannot condemn the items. Health department will have to come in, write up the necessary documentation, and issue them the certificate so that they can dispose of the items at the landfill.
Under the Act now, there are tiers of fines that can be prescribed. Ticketable offenses range from $700 to $2,000. Repeated business offenders can be fined more and would have to go before the Consumer Protection Board. The board comprises 5 persons, including the chairperson. To qualify, there must be one member who is knowledgeable and experienced in the area of industry, commerce, public administration, and consumer protection. There must also be an attorney at law of at least 7 years standing. The department says they will increase public knowledge for consumers and business places. More information can be found on their Facebook page, St. Kitts Consumer Affairs Department. Budget 2024 committee consultations got underway on Tuesday night at the Lodge Atlas Community Center to hear the public's feedback on intended policies that will comprise the budget and ultimately the Sustainable Island State SIS agenda. The SIS agenda is based on the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which the SKNLP administration is pursuing to position the St. Kitts and Nevis more independently. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Sustainable Development, Environment and Climate Action, Nercia Williams, shared what the SIS looks like for the Federation.
While economic resources can contribute to progress in some of these areas, achieving the SDGs requires comprehensive and sustainable efforts that go beyond a one-time distribution of funds. Solutions often involve systemic changes, international cooperation, policy improvements, and long-term investments in various sectors. Achieving goals related to poverty and hunger may require investments in agricultural infrastructure, in education, in healthcare. Addressing climate action requires coordinated efforts to reduce emissions, transition to renewable energy, and adaptation to the impacts of climate change. Working our way to a sustainable island state means that regardless of your background, you are assured that you would receive fair treatment and a fair chance in life. This means taking the best possible care of our resources.
As the financial state of the country is paramount in this transition, Senior Director in the Ministry of Finance, Leverand Creeley, shared that the public debt has been shrinking.
Our debt service is also on a trend to be moderating at 1.6% from last year to 1.8% of GDP. This gives an indication that we'll be managing our debt obligations and how we contract debt. And so this bears out from the percentage rate. And most importantly, our popular statistic that is touted everywhere, our public sector debt to GDP ratio, which went down from 69.1% in 2021 to 63.2%, and we are expecting it to go below the benchmark, which is the standard of 60%, to 55.4% in 2023.
The consultations continued on Thursday at the Old Road Community Center.